Hello, Study Buddy readers. How's everybody today? How you feeling? Good? Well, relax, get some popcorn, sit back, kick back, relax, cover your feet. Just chill out, and let's read chapter 11 in The Tale of Despereaux. It's called The Threadmaster Cometh. When Despereaux came to, he heard the drum. His father was beating a rhythm that had much more boom and much less tat. Together, Lester and the drum produced an ominous sound that went something like this. Boom, 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 tat, boom, 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 tat. "Make way for the thread," cried a mouse who was pushing a wooden spool of red thread through the crowd. "Make way for the thread!" Boom, 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 tat went the drum. "To the dungeon!" shouted the mice. Despereaux lay on his back, blinking his eyes. How, he wondered, had things gone so terribly wrong? Wasn't it a good thing to love? In the story in the book, love was a very good thing. Because the knight loved the fair maiden, he was able to rescue her. They lived happily ever after. It said so in the book. They were the last words on the page, happily ever after. Despereaux was certain that he had read exactly those words time and time again. Lying on the floor, with the drum beating and the mice shouting and the threadmaster calling out, "Make way, make way!" Despereaux had a sudden chilling thought. Had some other mouse eaten the words that spoke the truth? Did the knight and the fair maiden really not live happily ever after? Reader, do you believe that there is such a thing as happily ever after? Or like Despereaux, have you too begun to question the possibility of happy endings? "Happily ever after," whispered Despereaux. "Happily ever after," he said again as the spool of thread came to a stop beside him. "The thread, the thread, the thread," murmured the mice. "I'm sorry," said the mouse behind the spool, "but I have to ask you to stand up. I have to do my job." Despereaux got slowly to his feet. "On your hind legs, please," said the threadmaster. "It's the rules." Despereaux stood on his hind legs. "Thank you," said the mouse. "I appreciate it." While Despereaux watched, the threadmaster unwound a length of red thread from the spool and tied a loop. "Just enough for the neck," muttered the mouse. "No more, no less. That's what the last threadmaster taught me. Enough thread for the neck." He looked up at Despereaux and then back down at the loop of thread. "And you, my friend, have a small neck." The threadmaster raised his arms and put them around Despereaux's neck. He leaned in close, and Despereaux smelled celery. He could feel the threadmaster's breath in his ear as he worked at tightening the thread. "Is she beautiful?" the threadmaster whispered. "What?" said Despereaux. Is the Princess beautiful?" "The Princess P?" "Yes, she is lovely beyond all imagining," said Despereaux. "Just right," the threadmaster said. He drew back. He nodded his head. "A lovely princess, just so, like a fairy tale. And you love her as a knight loves a maiden. You love her with a courtly love, a love that is based on bravery and courtesy and honor and devotion, just so." "How do you know all that?" Despereaux said. "How do you know about fairy tales?" "Shh." The mouse leaned in closer, and Despereaux smelled celery again, green and alive. "Be brave, friend," whispered the threadmaster. "Be brave for the princess." And he stepped back and turned and shouted, "Fellow mice, the thread has been tied. The thread has been knotted." A roar of approval went up from the crowd. Despereaux squared his shoulders. He had made a decision. He would do as the threadmaster had suggested. He would be brave for the princess. Even if, reader, could it be true, there was no such thing as happily ever after? That's it. We're on to chapter 12.